She can check my phone and she can have the password. I don't care because I don't do anything like, crazy. Like that.
No, but you're saying
that's not the point. It's not that I've got something to hide. It's the principle.
Yeah, no, I get that.
If you need to check man's phone or you need to check...
There's zero trust there.
There's something, the trust ain't there. And if the trust ain't there, then there's going to be trust in nothing.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Marriage Stories, where we will be seeing Zach, Malik and Yahya responding to online stories of marriage at the same time as you guys. So before we start today, got a little something, shout out to Allah for Zach.
Huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is going to be the funniest reaction. Yeah.
Are you actually serious?
What? So basically, around 10 years ago, my man gave me something.
Huh?
Wow.
And since that time, I moved to like Reading for uni. And then years with some time apart, whatever have you. But I still kept it with me. Yeah. My mom was like to me, when I was living with my mom before I got married, she was like to me, yo, you need to dash this in the bin or give it away. And I was like, nah, this is a amana for a brother called Zach. So I have to give this back to you.
Oh my God.
How does it smell like?
But I don't know. It's the same. It was washed and then 10 years ago.
Oh my.
Did you wear it ever?
Wait, what
since?
size is it?
Does it still fit you?
No, definitely not. This is small now. This is fits like my
Might fit
son.
me.
I'm gonna pass this down the generation.
This was his signature shirt, bro.
You know, subhanAllah, yeah.
Tracksuit.
You know, there's a story behind this.
Go on.
So my granddad bought this. He's still alive. He's still with us. And we bought matching ones. So me and and you know what? Every time I go to Algeria now, he's always wearing this. Still to this day, that's mad.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
It's such an Algerian thing, innit? You man always rocking Adidas.
This is beautiful, man. Thank you so much for bringing it back 10 years later.
I know it's so bad. Well, so do forgive me. Well, it's so bad, but yeah, I kept on forgetting.
No, that's fine.
Just like you did.
I don't
10
know.
times every year.
I don't know what to do
You
with
just
it.
forget it every time.
But at least I gave you back your right.
Yeah, man, thank you so much for bringing back my amena. May Allah reward you, may Allah bless you.
You know what it reminds me of? There was one episode about that. This obviously, during Christmas, what would happen was one of these women in America. It's funny, yeah. She would take away items from her family members. And be like, where's it gone? Where's it gone? And then Christmas, give it back to them. That was her thing.
That's crazy. Now, you know what the funny thing is?
Yeah.
He probably doesn't remember, but it was a day where we went to, I think it was school days. I went to revise. I was cold. I didn't have my jacket on me, innit? So he literally let me borrow it. From that day, I forgot.
Wow.
It was in my closet. Didn't bring it back to him.
And Zach, did you forget though?
Yeah. Well,
Does
everything.
that surprise you though? Is that a
Yeah,
surprise?
well, that's crazy. It's
Funny, innit?
Wow.
SubhanAllah, it's mental.
Yeah.
They're back in fashion now, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they went off fashion for a bit. Now they're back.
I think I got it back at the right time. The right time. You know, Allah's the best of planners.
Yeah. Allah barik.
So anyway, with
Mashallah.
that said, inshallah ta'ala, we'll get into the episode. But I thought, you know what? Let me just...
Is this episode going to be about Amana?
No, it's not. It has absolutely nothing to do with
I was
the episode.
thinking, what was that?
It has absolutely nothing to do with the
What was
episode.
the
It's just
relevance of bringing back my item 10 years later?
bro, I forgot to give it to him the first episode, and then the second, and then the third. And I was like, you know what? If I don't give it to him now,
It's going to be another 10 years, isn't it?
I won't forget. So anyway, back to the episode, inshallah ta'ala. So this story is about a jealous husband. Or in other words, we say Gheerah, which means protective jealousy. So you might be hearing Gheerah a lot. Gheerah is an Arabic word for jealousy, but in this context, it's used for protective jealousy. So my husband and I work at the same place.
Red flag.
There's already...
Red flag. Red flag. There's the English proverb. I'm not going to use the word in it. You don't something where you eat in it. But anyway, carry on. What
You don't
are you
sleep
doing?
where you eat?
No. Don't go to the toilet where you eat.
Interesting. My husband and I work at the same place. During a break with co-workers, someone told a funny story about work. And we all laughed. Later, my husband mentioned feeling uncomfortable because the co-worker who said the joke was looking at her a lot, as in he was interested in her. And when she laughed at the joke, he was also like very happy at that. In response, I apologized to my husband and assured him that I would keep my distance from that coworker in the future to avoid any similar situations. Despite my apology and assurance, my husband proceeded to ignore me for the next 9 hours without any communication. He expressed his disappointment, stating that he expected more from me. The reaction isn't new. Whenever my husband is hurt or angry, he tends to ignore me, even though I've explained how it makes me feel. Conversely, if I am upset and don't express it, immediately I am accused of causing drama and stress. So first thing up, what is jealousy? What is it?
I think me and you, Taha, we've spoken about this offline, like just as brothers, quite a lot about Gheerah in particular. I think the khulasa, the summary of it is like protective jealousy is very important to protect our women. It's a natural instinct that, unfortunately, I would say that the society around us at large want to get rid of that element of masculinity, of being a man, is essentially being protective and having that protective jealousy. However, a lot of the time it goes into extremes where it's not healthy. It turns into suspicion. It turns into unhealthy kind of always thinking, being on your toes and being anxious and, essentially curbing any activity of your female kind of, counterparts in your family, for example. So in essence, just to answer your question, Taha, Gheerah, jealousy is from the prima facie duty, the first duty of a man to protect. That's the healthy.
Is it a feeling though? Is it an action?
It's a feeling in your heart that has then repercussions in terms of what you do, like what you say. Mainly, I think it should be what you say as well, and then how you protect. It probably is mainly what you say to them and how you act as well.
The thing about this situation, I think he's somewhat acting a bit childish, and I know the instant reaction is, you should feel a certain type of way if your wife is reacting a certain way to another man. But the issue is that he hasn't prevented this from happening. He's married a woman who works in the same place, 3 mixes. What do you expect in that situation? A lot of Islam is about preventing things from happening in the first place.
Seems like he's picking and choosing.
Yeah, exactly.
He's trying to prevent one harm without cutting it off the root.
Yeah.
Kind of a really important point Yahya mentioned, right? So subhanAllah, even the ulama, the scholars, they mentioned that if you've married somebody and they're already living a certain life and you haven't stipulated, as an example, a working woman you've married and now you're expected to leave a job, this is unjust. Whereas if you stipulate from the outset, look, maybe you're working now, but we're going to, work towards it, that's fine. But he can't expect anything different because this is what he's agreed to in the first place. I just wanted to mention that point. Some brothers have a wrong idea about that.
It's not like, okay, just because your husband, khalas, at any point in time, you could just change your mind. On Monday, you're feeling like this. Tuesday, you're feeling like that.
No.
It's going to be difficult to adjust to that. From the get-go, you're saying, you know what you want.
Exactly.
Marry into that, make that, conditional. And
as Zach mentioned, it's like going into a brick wall if you're essentially trying to negotiate things which are already, there and it's plain in sight. For example, you're trying to change on that.
Yeah, even Gheerah, for example, women have it as well. It's not just, so we tend to think, okay, only men have Gheerah, right? Women have it as well. So, and essentially what it is just jealousy, right? It's jealousy. It's a feeling that you have. As in that's where it starts, right? It starts as a feeling. And even for example, for a man, it can be nice in the beginning for a woman to have a lot of Gheerah for you and whatever have you. But then it can get to a point where now it's just getting a bit annoying.
It gets long.
Where do we say that that point is where it gets a bit, okay, this is getting a bit out of hand now?
I think Zach's got some points in his mind. He's conjuring right now. He's mixing up the points in the little pot right there.
I think everyone's different, isn't it? Everyone's different. I think when you're restricting freedoms, that's when it becomes a bit mad. Like, can't do this, can't do that, don't do this, don't do that. I'll give you an example, actually.
Okay, so you're saying we're all human beings. We need that freedom.
Yeah.
Some sort of freedom, right?
Yeah. No. Just click up freedom. Like,
okay.
Don't infringe.
As in, so you shouldn't be restricted. Restricted.
Don't feel restricted. I hate that feeling of just like freedom.
Outside of obviously what Allah has said. Halal,
of course.
You're saying
of course.
Within the halal, let's not restrict each other even more.
That's it. Perfect. I'll give you an example. So there's someone I know.
Yeah.
Shall I say this? I think it should be fine. There's someone I know that's quite public. So they're in the public space.
Okay.
And their significant other doesn't like that. So as they've got married now, they're like, you can't be online no more.
Doesn't make sense because she married into that.
Thank you. So now that is what I don't like.
100%.
The whole like this person's quite popular on social media. They're popular, like they'll get stopped on the streets and all of that. They don't like that element, but they don't like it clear cut. I don't want your face out there.
And that causes a huge bunch of issues, because if that's what you don't want, then that's not what you should have got into. But now you've got into it, then khalas, you have to deal with it. You have to just accept it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because now you're restricted. You have to think about the other person, right? You feeling this type of way, how does that impact on the other person's life?
Person, yeah.
And if it is restricting them on certain things that they want to do, and it's halal what they're doing, then
there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I completely agree.
You know what? On this topic, I feel like especially with a lot of people on social media, there's a lot of hypocrisy in this space, just because a lot of brothers expect a certain level of hayat from their wife or their sisters or whoever.
What's hayat?
Like shame and modesty, that kind of thing. But you see the same brothers posting like gym videos, basically topless, or like in a free mix sort of gym environment, all that. And this is definitely something that I see a lot. It's like brothers are very hypocritical when it comes to this subject.
I can do this, but she can't.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
It's obviously different levels to what the word haya in terms of, the woman in her entirety is awra. In fact, what's interesting in my language, in Urdu, the word for a woman is awrat. It's from the word awra. But for a man, of course, there's levels, man. Like there's no culture where it's normal, like for the guy to be posting these type of things. Yeah. And I know a lot of brothers, subhanAllah, even when it comes to awra, they don't even observe that. For example, you'll see that their knees, and somebody said to me, man, knees are not beautiful, but still, man, the concept is still there.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Islamic side of things, obviously there's difference of opinion in certain things, right? So I know for some.
In the Maliki, for example.
Yeah, like the thigh is not considered the awra.
In the Maliki.
It's not considered the awra, meaning a private part. It's not considered a private area. But of course, if it's going to cause fitna, for example, what other women are seeing and it causes fitna, then of course it becomes haram. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, this is a bit of a difference of opinion in this area. But 100%, there is that double standard. Right?
Hypocritical, man.
But we also need to understand as well, even though there is that double standard, there's also, you can't compare the two. Very different. You have to compare it to the standard that Islam has set.
That Islam has set 100%.
For each gender, not, okay, for example, some people say, right, women aren't allowed to go to free mixed gyms, but how come men are? Does that make sense? So this is a sticky topic, I know.
It's a sticky topic, but it's a very important principle.
It's a very...
Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says quite clearly, لَيْسَ الذَّكَرَ كَالْأُنْثَى. The man is not like the woman. Yeah. So to compare like tit for tat, I get the principle, even I agree with the point, but you're so right, Taha, like hayat for us is very different to hayat for a woman, right? For modesty, she is draped in modesty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's no doubt in saying they're the fairer gender. They're the ones that deserve
even on the issue
protection.
of like gym, for example, So we have to understand, right? I'm not saying, by the way, which is right or wrong, but just so we can understand, is not the same. If a woman goes to a gym, for example, her issue is, as a Muslim woman, that is covered or not. The issue is how she's dressed, right? The issue is that people can see it. Yeah, does that make sense? Especially, I'm saying like squatting and whatnot.
Yeah, movements
it's
and stuff.
It's not going to be very modest. Do you know what I mean? Whereas for a man, and obviously, by the way, that is a major sin. Does that make sense? It's a major. Then we look at, for example, a man, if he goes into a gym, if it's a gym and it's free mixing, and there's women that are not modestly dressed, whatever have you, in the areas that he's using, then 100% he should stay away from that.
He should, yeah.
But sometimes there's brothers that, for example, that I might train with, whatever have you, we go at a time
early morning, for example.
There's not really anyone there. Yeah. Does that make sense? We'll do our gym workout. We'll leave, do our thing. We haven't seen anything, or whatever have you.
And by the way, off-peak membership is cheaper, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, but just to point out, it's not the same thing, because I get sisters' messages as well sometimes, and they're like, I see brothers always saying Muslim women shouldn't be going to a mixed gym, whatever have you. But those same brothers are going to the gym. So what do we say there? Do you know what I mean? But I'm like, it's not the same thing. It's honestly not the same thing. Also, the need for a man to go to a gym is much higher than the need for a woman. I'm sorry to say. Do you know what I mean?
That's arguable. That's arguable. But in terms of like,
Bro,
it's right that even Sheikh Muqbil, subhanAllah, he mentions that the woman should be going to like exercising, but not the gym. We're talking about exercising itself. But you can work out from home.
I'm for sisters going to the gym.
Yeah,
I'm for sisters.
Yeah,
Or
please
working
make
out.
that
I'm actually for sisters going to the gym. And they should go to. They should. No,
A prerequisite.
Not prerequisite, but they should. They should. It's healthy.
Yeah.
It's good. And there's actually a lot of like pure gym, for example. There's a women's section in every pure gym.
But the original point that I was making in terms of like the hypocrisy isn't necessarily that men and women are the same, because they're obviously not. It's more so like if the man expects so much a certain level from his wife, but he's not putting in any effort into like, say for example, he's wearing really tight clothing at the gym, like very, very tight. You can see the outline of everything, like including the aura as well. It's like, if you're not putting in any effort, but then you expect your wife to cover her face, wear like, you know, essentially just not be seen, but you're out here being seen all the time.
It's the same thing with, for example, when you're going to a job interview as a man, as a woman, for example, obviously not allowed to shake hands with the opposite gender and whatnot. But for the men, it's like, you know what, it's not that deep. But for the woman, it's like, yo, it's like, these things, it's for both. It's the same exact thing. Do you know what I mean? Even, for example, private meeting, it's the same thing, bro.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you're in a secluded private meeting with someone from the opposite gender, it's the same. Whether it's a man or a woman, it's the exact same thing. So 100% agree there. One question I had for you guys, inshallah ta'ala, is when it comes to jealousy, right? When it comes to Gheerah, what is too much Gheerah and what is too little Gheerah from the man's perspective?
Okay, so I'll give you practical.
I think we need to go around for this one.
Yeah.
This one. We definitely need to go around.
No, Zach, you go, man.
No, you go first. I think you had.
I was just gonna say, like, a practical example is like checking phones and all that type of stuff. I think so the basic principle is when it goes, from my perspective, it's when your Gheerah goes into an unhealthy mode where you're suspicious now and you're always checking things and you're always looking at things in a bad light. So there's a beautiful hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ana inda husnul dhanni abdi bih, I am just as my servant thinks of me. And this is a state of mind we should all have, which is what is known in Arabic as husnul dhan, a good opinion. Have a good opinion of Allah, have a good opinion of people around you, and particularly your spouse as well. Always give the benefit of the doubt to anybody as well. I can talk a lot on for this, but in essence, practical example, what do brothers think? Is it all right to check each other's phone? I'll just leave.
Are
that
you
out.
mad?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a madness because for me, I agree with you, because you need to have privacy for each other. You need to have,
it's like
and the foundation,
socials and doing this and doing that, and checking
foundation is
messages
trust,
and who you calling and who.
I mean, like,
it's trust.
She can check my phone. She can have the password. I don't care because I don't do anything like crazy. Like that.
No, but you're that's not the point.
Yeah. He said like everyone else. He said, I'm free for it. But you, man,
check my phone, innit?
Like, it's one of those ones, innit, where it's like,
not the point.
If there's nothing
I've
to
got
hide,
a second phone anyway. I do though. I got a second one, innit?
second phone.
Nah, it's not the point. For me, this is. I feel very strongly about this, innit?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that I've got something to hide. It's the principle.
Yeah, no, I get that.
The principle of, if you need to check man's phone or you need to check,
There's zero trust there.
There's something. The trust ain't there. And if the trust ain't there, then there's gonna be trust in nothing.
Yeah, I know. I was specifically talking about not for the purpose of checking my phone, but she can have my, like, if she needs to use my phone for whatever reason.
Why?
She's helping me because she helps me with like social media stuff and business stuff and all that.
I do agree. Like, I'll give you an example. Yeah, let's say my phone is on a thing, and my wife's like, I just want to call someone.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay. But if it's like, no. If anything, that shows something's wrong from your side.
Let me quickly check it first.
I would trust her with the fact that she knows not to check other messages or go onto whatever galleries, this and that, because she might see things, for example, other brothers. I don't want her to see, and similar with me. I don't want to see her family and all that type of stuff, like women and whatnot, like text, and she needs to have a personal space.
Yeah. Something beautiful that Islam actually teaches, right? Is that if you're traveling, you're into a long travel, and you're on your way back to your home.
Oh yeah,
that you shouldn't arrive unexpectedly to surprise the women folk. Does that make sense? To surprise your wife. The reason for that, and the reason for that is obviously you don't want to surprise people. Does that make sense? You don't want to catch them even slipping, whatever have you. Islam came to protect everyone's honor, or whatever have you.
Yeah.
Even if you were to suspect your wife of something, you're not allowed to set traps. It's like nowadays, you got even YouTube channels dedicated, set up to catch people out in their relationships. This is not from our religion. We're not supposed to investigate and whatever have you. Does that make sense? So that's something, another thing that is
like,
quite
even the small thing, like just surprising somebody, like, you know, they like prank kind of like one of your boys. That's not permissible as well. Like to scare somebody that way, or point weapons or whatever it is. But actually, you know what? so I remember the wording of the hadith. The wording of the hadith was, don't point your sword as well upon somebody, like the whole the metan of the hadith. Yeah. But anyway, I was gonna say that's a bit mad. But anyway, I was gonna say one thing. If you try, if the shaitan, if you pander to the shaitan telling you to have, you know, suspicion, you're gonna go into a path of destruction, man. So this is where your trust has to be there.
Slope.
Slippery slope.
I'll tell you guys something interesting. I want to know your thoughts about this, right? There was a study that was done. This was done in a Muslim country, yeah? So this study was done, I believe it was in Kuwait, yeah? With 300 participants. So they're all married, Muslim married. So a lot of the time we look at studies that were done with people in casual relationships, right? Yeah. And then we apply it to the Muslim world. But this was actually done with Muslim couples. So it's very strong. They were given 10, kind of like a list of 10 to write in priority, in list of order, what they need the most from their significant other, from their husband or from their wife. What do you guys think was the first thing on that list?
Honesty.
Yeah. What do you think, Zach? For women or for men? Because they were different. Men were given one form and women were given another.
Well, I think this for
attention, bro.
Yeah.
You said women attention?
No, I didn't say that.
That's a bit mad.
No, I just said attention.
Oh, attention. For men and women.
Oh, no, actually, I think for men, it's either honesty or loyalty, probably.
Men would be loyalty or honesty. What about you?
Trust.
For men or women?
For men.
And for what about for women? What do they need from
attention?
Men? Attention, okay. Well,
we've
already gone through this. So, surprisingly, well, not very surprisingly, but the number one thing that men need from women was respect.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It seems obvious now.
So without respect, it's like the whole relationship is gone.
True.
But the one that surprised me the most was for women. And it was, when I saw it, I was like, subhanAllah, this is really profound. The number one thing they wrote that they needed from their husband was trust.
Okay.
So it goes into this, again, this element of Gheerah as well, where if your Gheerah, if your jealousy over your wife, for example, is so much that it's causing her to feel like maybe there's a lack of trust here, it could be detrimental to your relationship.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And also, I think a lot of the time, like, if you're doing stuff yourself, if you're not acting in the right way, you're not lowering your gaze, typically you're going to think that of other people as well. But if you're genuinely like trying to avoid haram as much as you can, like, it's not necessarily something you think about your wife doing, because like, I'm doing it, why wouldn't she do it? See what I mean? So
okay, that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, that's a good point as well, man. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but to be honest, Yani, the foundation of a relationship for both the man and the woman is having trust with one another. And this is something I always tell brothers, right? Whenever it comes to friendships, because alhamdulillah, I've had that opportunity to kind of delve into many different friendships and see positive characteristics, negative characteristics. And one thing that I saw that goes within what Islam teaches us is there's 3 characteristics for every relationship to be successful. Whether that's a marriage, whether it's a friend, whether it's your brother, for any relationship to be successful, I've seen these 3 things. Number 1 is this positive assumption. So many times I'm with a brother and he's telling me about his close friend, his best friend. He's like, I think he did that, and negatively assuming. I'm telling him, Akhi, he's your close friend. Why are you negatively assuming? He's clearly not your close friend. He's not clearly a true friend, right?
Yeah.
Because you're negatively assuming. A true friend should never negatively assume. He should always have positive assumptions of you. So as soon as he negatively assumes, you can forget about that friendship. And I've seen it countless times. The brother starts negatively assuming. Within 6 months, that relationship's gone.
100%. Yeah, it's not gonna last.
Yeah. And sometimes that person might have a valid reason to negatively assume. But it doesn't change anything. It still means that relationship is doomed. Does that make sense? Maybe he's seen something. That relationship is doomed. The second thing is trust. To be someone that is يعني ثقة, someone that is trustworthy, someone that you can give him an amana, you can give him something and he can give it back to you. He can give you that. Even if it takes 10 years.
MashaAllah.
He's
Jazakallah
brought it back to you.
khair. Thank you so much.
So that's the second thing. And the third thing, I'm just trying to remember, the third thing, subhanAllah, is from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Love for your brother what you love for yourself. So important. You have sometimes friends, maybe they positive assume, which is very difficult. And then they're trustworthy, which is also difficult. We're getting there. But by far the most difficult one is loving for your brother what you love for yourself in a proper, genuine way. Yani, for example, you know, the yogurt, for example, you have one for yourself, you want your Muslim brother to have one as well. Does that make sense?
You know, in that hadith is لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه, is like لا يؤمن أحدكم, like you don't truly believe.
None of you believe
until you're on that level. And then the other thing is, I think Ali radiallahu anh, he mentioned in the hadith explaining it, that this is actually your brother in humanity as well. So subhanAllah, first, if we're not even like that with our own brothers who we're chilling with, what about people in humanity in general? SubhanAllah. Ali radiallahu anh mentions in this, but yeah, SubhanAllah, man. May Allah make us of those three categories that you mentioned, man.
Ameen.
Trustworthy. Was it three? Just recap it, please.
So just to recap, you got having positive assumptions of your brothers. You have being trustworthy, being someone that people can trust. Not this lying, you know. Oh, where are you? I'm 5 minutes away. But in reality, you're 1 hour away. That's a very untrustworthy, yeah.
That was you earlier, bro.
No.
You said, unless you lied, he said 10 minutes to like half an hour.
I gave you guys the exact time. You know what's funny? I gave you guys the exact time because I actively practice this, right? Just to bring it up in it.
It's fine, we believe you, bro.
Yeah, just to
it's fine,
to give an
bro.
example so people can understand, innit? Where is it? Marriage stories. Okay, cool.
No, I actually believe you, man.
So this is not for you guys, it's for the viewers, inshallah ta'ala, so that they can see. So look, here it is. 9:07, just missed my train. Sorry, we'll be late. They cancelled the one right after, which Muhammad Malik with me. They did cancel the right one after. And I mentioned that the next I'll be there, and the voice note I mentioned, 10:25. I think it's here. Well, man, even though we're an hour late, bro, let me stop this. Okay, even though we're an hour late, because we're supposed to come in at 9:30, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's an hour late.
No, it was an hour late, but yeah.
Yeah, it was very late. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let's say.
It's difficult to be honest with people and tell them, yo, I'm actually going to be very late. Yeah. And this is the exact time that I'm going to be there. Do you know what I mean? So I actively practice that, innit? So that's why I need to take that suspicion away from me.
I respect that a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's important. And the reason I'm showing this is because it's important that we actually start doing this. Does that make sense? Take accountability of your actions
100%.
and be trustworthy with people. Does that make sense? Like, it's not just trustworthy with, yo, can you hold this and then give it back to me? No, it's also with just being truthful with your words. Do you know what I mean?
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, and the last one was love for your brother what you love for yourself. So positive assumption, be trustworthy, and loving for your brother what you love for yourself. Inshallah, should we end the episode there?
Yeah.
Thank you for watching Marriage Stories. See you again next episode.